Hello, fellow solar industry legends, and welcome to Solar Yarns, Australia's first ever online solar networking. Really excited to be doing this, really excited to be bringing this new concept. I really miss doing the solar conferences, going to all the great training events we always have, and doing network with my fellow industry peers, with all the manufacturers, with all the installers. And this is a new platform to give everyone the ability to be able to do networking again in a new way. Now, this isn't going to just be your typical webinar where you listen to someone like me present, or we do actually have one presenter, Nigel Morris. But what the main focus of Solar Yarns is going to be is actually you coming in live. So we're asking people out there to step out of their comfort zone a little bit and jump in live on your video camera with your audio. Now, to be able to step in live, all you need to do is in the chat feeds, you'll see in your Zoom down the bottom, you do actually have a chat area there. So if you click on chat, up will come up your chat area on the side, and all you need to write in there is dial me in. And when it comes to a point in the session that I'm going to be bringing everyone in after Nigel, we'll actually bring you in live. Now, if you haven't got the guts to come in live, which is fine, some people are a little bit more shy, just put something there in text. And I'll get the comment feed. I've got Dane Muldoon, one of our technical staff, who's helping me host this, and he's bringing up some of the comments up here, and I'll be able to throw those comments out there. So, I've got somebody already saying they want to be dialed in. But before we do, I just want to give a few protocols. Obviously, dial me in the chat area if you want to come in live or write something in there. I'm going to give a language warning. This is Solar Yarns. We're having a chat. There might be a couple of F-bombs. I'm not really saying that isn't the go. This is very casual, so I'm just going to put a language warning out there. Look, I don't want anybody naming names of people, names of companies or brands in a negative way. We definitely don't want a defamation case here. This is about positivity as much as possible. I can see Nigel there. He's getting ready to come in, throwing a couple of swings out there that he wants to be able to hanging on a few people, but no, we're going to keep it all positive. And when you do come in live, your Zoom will probably say, enable my video, enable my audio. So make sure you do that. And then we'll be able to bring you in. It'll be really seamless. So look, Solar Yarns, really excited to be doing this. I hope everyone enjoys it. I hope everyone's brave enough to be coming in and we can make it really interactive. Now, before I kick off, Nigel Morris from Solar Analytics is our guest speaker today. He's actually gone out there with his tech people and looked at around 35,000 residential properties and what their load profiles have done. Now, I'm interested to see what the people are in the room now, and we do have a lot of people in the room already, what the people in the room believe power consumption has gone up in homes since COVID-19 has started. And what I want to do is launch a poll. And that poll should be up on your screen right now. And in that poll, it's saying, how much do you think power consumption has increased in homes on average since COVID-19? And basically, do you think it's gone up by 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, or 50%? So jump in there right now and hit your results. And while I'm waiting for those results to come in before I hand over to Nigel, and I can see more people are coming in. I want to say it one more time, if you want to be brought in after Nigel's presentation for the interactive solar networking, the first ever in Australia, all you need to say in the comment feed, you actually click on chat down the bottom, is dial me in and we'll bring you in. And I can see there that there's some polls starting to come through. Look, while people are clicking on that polls, I'm not going to hold up Nigel, I'm going to bring you in. So Nigel, I'm going to hand over the floor to you, mate, and Nigel Morris from Solar Analytics.
Thanks, mate, and g'day to everyone out there. I can only see a couple of faces, so I'm just talking into the void now in this new world that we live in. Thanks for organising this, Lliam and the guys at Supply Partners. Yeah, the thing that struck me actually while you were talking, Lliam, was that sitting here in my data dungeon, buried under the house here, and trying to work on my own in this new world that we're in, it's hard sometimes to get motivated and to be creative and to adjust to the new world that we all live in. But here we are, and off we go. So let's hope that we can do more of this kind of stuff, because I'm missing having a yarn with all of you guys, that's for sure. Very briefly, we published a couple of stories this week, and Lliam attributed a lot of that very kindly to me, but I have to say I did virtually nothing. It was all down to the excellent work by the data scientists and our marketing team in sales, who cobbled this together and teased out the data. So I'm going to give you a quick overview. Liam's still collecting the poll results, but what we did was we looked at 35,000 of our sites. We just picked some residential sites. And what we did was we started filtering that data in a whole bunch of different ways. And the most interesting thing that we found out of that was that almost 7,000 of those sites increased their self-consumption of solar, or their daily energy consumption, by almost 20%, right? So 7,000 homes, or about 20% of our sample rate. Another 3,500 homes increased their consumption by almost 40%, 37 it was, almost 40%. So what we're definitely seeing is some trends out there. No big surprise, right? A lot of you are working at home more now, and a lot of us, whoops, there's the poll, but I can't answer it. I'll get rid of it. A lot of us are all obviously working at home. And so what we've been doing is looking at that first week, which we define lockdown as officially starting in the week of March 22, which is week 12. And so what we've been doing is saying, compared to week 12, I beg your pardon, compared to the week before that, how did energy consumption change? How did those patterns change as everyone started moving to working from home? So that's what we've been looking at. I also dug in and this morning got some more state-based results, which revealed some really, really interesting things. So we know there's a lot of people working from home. We know that, almost 10% of them increased their energy consumption by quite a staggering 40%. And interestingly, if you go, well, hang on, there's 8 million homes in Australia. If that 10% was a good proxy for all the homes in Australia, and if everyone was doing that, that means that 900,000, almost 1 million homes are potentially going to increase their energy consumption by as much as 40% if things stay the way they are. So some really, really significant results out there. Millions and millions of people affected by this change in the way we use energy. If we look at it on a state basis, it starts to get really interesting, and we actually had to dig in a little bit more here because, interestingly, over March, not only did COVID happen, amongst all the other things that happened in the world, but March was actually one of the lowest rainfall months in long time records. It was 15% below the average in March. On top of that, temperatures were up by almost 0.67 of a degree warmer than average, and it makes it actually the 21st warmest March month on record, right? So March was a cracker month for weather. Solar exposure, interestingly, and you can look at that as a different thing from temperature or from rainfall, but solar exposure, I sampled a couple of states and it wasn't massively different to the averages. So despite the changes in temperature and rainfall, solar exposure was, about normal, really, a little bit better in some cases. But what we saw was some states in particular had really, really outstanding results in terms of either solar radiation or in terms of temperature or other factors that would mean that solar was boosted. So this threw the results out a bit, because what we saw was that, and I'll give you an example, in, where's my data set? Here it is. So compared to pre-COVID, in the ACT, for example, week 10 compared to week 16, so this last sort of, 3 or 4 weeks that we've all been at home, and then going to a week before COVID hit, the average self-consumption in the ACT went up by 60%. 60, right? So massive change in the way that people are self-consuming solar energy in the ACT. That was a stand up at the high end. New South Wales, fairly similar numbers, not as big, but 40s and 20s and 30s, going up and down a bit with all sorts of different functions. But then at the other end of the scale, what was interesting was we saw that Queensland and WA actually didn't increase their self-consumption. In fact, across our fleet in those states, we're seeing a little bit of a decrease. Now, that is actually where we started digging and went, hang on, solar insolation or solar radiation was through the roof and temperatures were perfect and all sorts of other factors. So there was different generation that was occurring as well. So what we can see across every single state is these really dramatic jumps and these really dramatic changes between pre-COVID and post-COVID. Obviously, the timing of the lockdown and everything affects how these things have happened in different states. But here's the simple message. People are using more energy at home. People are asking questions. Our Facebook pages and our socials are running pretty busy. We use this little guy that the guys at Supply Partners can help you get hold of to put in a switchboard that helps people understand this. And that's part of why we've released this data, so that you can help educate people. They can see what's going on. They can actually start to take control of what we can see are going to be rising energy costs over the next few months if this scenario continues. Everyone's doing really well. Good work on social isolation. So, you know, we may actually come out of this even quicker. But that's a summary of the stats. Liam, I hope that helps. If there's any questions, I'm going to be here to keep banging on as long as you like.
That's awesome, Nigel, mate, true veteran of the industry. And for those of you that can see Nigel in his solar dungeon, he was telling me that weird looking panel in the background there. He's having a beer, what a legend. That panel in the background is apparently 30 years old or something. You bought it off an oil rig, so pretty interesting. Look, the results of the poll have come in. We got a lot of votes. Most people thought power had increased by 20%, would have been the average increase, and that was spot on. You know, not around 7,000 homes out of the 35,000 surveyed by Solar Analytics had a 20% increase. So our industry really knows what's going on out there.
Yeah.
I love that big figure you threw there. Like if you look at the 8 million homes in Australia, 1.8 million of them have seen a 20% increase. So what a great thing to use. So thank you for adding there into the poll. Now, look, the first topic, let's get into solar yarns. As I said, dial me in. A few people have. I've got a few people that reached out to me I want to bring in. The first topic we want to cover is how are installers dealing with no contact installs. So when you're out there dealing with a homeowner or a commercial business owner and you're not wanting to enter the property and wanting to practice social distancing, abide by the government regulations and do the right thing, what processes have you built into your business? And we've got a couple of installers. Look, the first person that reached out to me, I want to say thanks to Eddie, because, you know, Eddie Springer from Springer's Solar. You know, there's one of these situations that people get a bit of fear of being first, and having people like Eddie and a few others come in to help break the ice will hopefully make this thing successful. So look, Eddie, I've unmuted you there, mate. If you want to tell us a little bit about your experiences out there and what you're doing to practice social distancing.
Yeah, well, thanks for the invite, and hello to everyone. I'm also sitting here having a beer in the afternoon, so cheers to everyone. Look, first thing we did amongst our warehouse staff, our front of house and our teams was segregate people into pods so that we minimise contact between different parts of our business. That allowed us to ensure that if someone did go down with illness, that we weren't shutting the whole business down. So internally, we really segregated our departments and our teams so that they weren't coming in contact with each other, and all non-essentials were working from home. And then from that, we then rolled into, well, how are we going to interact with our customers? So customer communication and customer interaction changed a lot. So we were always ensuring we were ringing ahead, making sure customers hadn't been overseas, hadn't been put into imposed isolation from the government, and then spoke to them differently about how we were going to conduct the installation. We are still entering premises, but we're just asking our clients and our customers to vacate the rooms that we're in and move into a different part of the house, because we do still need to get to the manholes. We do still need to get in the installation. It does mean that customers can't look over our shoulders for the installation now, which is always a plus. They need to keep their distance for how they interact with us while we're doing our installation, and then training and support and follow up. We've definitely gone to a more digital handover procedure where we're supplying all our manuals and all our test certificates and everything online. We had been doing that for a while, but it's really enabled us to to train our customers and to show them the installation through photos and through digital training rather than that face-to-face contact.
Thanks heaps, Eddie. That's some really professional processes you've implemented into your business there. It's interesting you're saying you're still going into the home, but you're putting in some really good processes to make sure the customer feels safe and they are safe, and we're not exacerbating this problem and doing the right thing by trying to overcome the curve. And I saw you having another big sip of your beer after I took you off the camera there, mate. So all good. Look, I had heard about some installers not trying to go through the manhole and actually jumping straight on the roof, removing a section of tiles, removing a roof sheet. So that's a really good method if you are still going through the home. Look, I've also got Mark Cavanagh here from MC Electrical. He wants to jump in. Mark, what are you guys doing out there?
Yeah, Liam, pretty similar to Eddie in a lot of ways. So really early on, we separated the office and we had 3 different sections, and I went and bought another microwave. We ended up having 3 fridges and 3 microwaves and everything. So everyone was spewing because I had the good coffee machine in my section. But we separated that all up, and then that only lasted not even a week, and someone got the sniffles a bit. So we just said, oh, bugger it, we'll all work from home. So pretty much there's only a couple of storemen in there at the moment, and one guy that he can't work from home, so he's going into the office, but that's pretty well separated. So we're still like that at the moment, and I'm kind of getting used to it working from home. I don't mind it. Hey, Jack. As far as the guys on the road, that was a bit hard. I got in really early, and while everyone was buying up toilet paper, I got heaps of Glen 20. And so we just gave bucket loads of that to the guys. I think they're all out of that now, and it's still pretty hard to get. So we had them. We broke them into teams. We used to split our teams up a bit, but we just made a strict rule of no mixing teams, and we had the same 3 or 4 blokes on the same team all the time. We stopped letting them share rides. So even if they're driving up, an hour away, they'd just take their own car, all take their own car. So they were not sharing cars together and trying to separate each other as much as they could. And using their own tools and being careful about that. I guess that was at the stage where we were getting, 300 and 400 infections a day. Things have leveled off a lot now. As far as getting into the roof, I think a lot of places have sarking, Liam, is what we find, and we're not going to cut through that. So we call the customer. We always do anyway. Call the customer a week out and explain to them that, look, we're going to need your toilet. We're not going to need to get into your manhole, and see if they're okay with that. Yeah.
Mate, that's great, and implementing some really good methods there. Thank you so much, Mark. This is what Solar Yarn's about. People are just jumping in. I've got somebody here, Rob Grono. Rod Grono, sorry. I want to bring you in, mate. I think you got to enable your camera there, though, mate. So just enable your camera. I've got a few other people that I think are wanting to jump in on the next feed. I think Dan, the Solar Man's there online. I'm pretty sure he's got some in-house installers. What are you doing there, Dan, to practice social distancing, mate?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a bit hard now to refuse the hugs from the clients after you helped them out. So, we're dealing with that the best we can. But this has actually been a little bit of a blessing in disguise for us, because the way I like to operate is I like to give the customers or the new leads and inquiries a bunch of homework before we can actually organise a site visit and stuff like that. So in the past, I'd like to, I'd try to get a bunch of photos and information from customers, but a lot of them like, I'm too busy, I don't have time, I'll just come out and tell me what it's going to cost. So we're finding that part of our process at the moment is actually working tenfold, because everyone sort of has that concept of limiting contact, and we're doing much less site inspections prior to offering a proposal now, but we're getting better data from the clients. So I'm actually enjoying the way we can now work with our customers remotely, and it's no longer misinterpreted from a perspective where they're probably saying, oh, well, if you're not going to make the effort to come out to us, we're not going to send you that information. Whereas now it's sort of been flipped around. Some of them saying, look, we don't want anyone to come out. What do you need me to give you? So
Mate, that's
Yeah,
awesome. And you know what I'm hearing from people and from you when I spoke to you the other day, actually, and thank you for being someone who was pre-organised to help break the ice here, is you were doing well. And you know, I work as a supplier in this industry, so I'm speaking to different solar businesses all day, and so are other people in our team. And it's just crazy how we hear two different sides of the coin. We hear some people that are saying it's apocalypse now, and they're doing shit numbers. And then you speak to the next people that are quite positive. They might be doing a little bit below average numbers than what they usually do, but they're doing quite well. And I've even heard from a couple of companies out there that are doing better numbers. Now, the people that are negative, they're the ones doing shit numbers. So that's what this is about. It's about positivity, people sharing stories about how they're doing well out there. We've basically moved into topic 2 here, which is how are you dealing with remote selling? What are you doing when you're out there talking to people? Dan kind of blended into it there, so I'm just going to let it roll. It's what Solar Yarns is about. Rod Grono, he's got his video working, so I'm going to bring him in. Rod, you're live, mate. Come on in.
Yeah, how you going, buddy?
Good, mate.
Thanks for putting it on.
No probs.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess I'm smaller than a lot of other guys. Some of my workers aren't real busy. Try and keep them busy as I can, but there's not many installs coming in, so I've got my service tech hat back on, and yeah, building business that way. And it's I kind of like it when it's a bit slower and you can spend a bit more time with the customer. I'm getting more leads. I don't know. You just got to talk to people and ask them what they need and react to what they want, and away you go. You got more business. So, like you said,
Mate, thank you. There's a man getting more leads, and he's enjoying slowing things down a bit and doing jobs quality and doing jobs right. So that's what industry legends do. Lily Padgick has asked to be brought in. Lily, you there? Not sure I've got actually video of you. It might just be a still of you, but you can speak. Go for it, Lily.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Go for it.
Oh, I'm just on the roof. We're still working, so no, it's been good. It's been a mixed bag. So you get to some building sites, the builders want you to come 5-6 times. You can't work inside the house. You can only work on the roof. You can only work between set times. But a lot more interest from people that are genuinely interested and not a lot of time wasters. That's what I'm finding. But I've mixed it up a bit. So we do our own work and then we contract to a few retailers because I didn't know what it was going to be like. So, but it's been busy.
Well, keep mixing it up, Lily. Thanks for coming in. Jake Warner from Penrith Solar, somebody I spoke to before, kicking off Solar Yarns today. So thanks so much, Jake. You're live there, mate. Come on in.
Awesome. Thanks, Liam. Yeah, look, remote selling for us has certainly been a bit of a shake-up. We're kind of a business that does 100% site inspections no matter what. And if the client doesn't want us to do a site inspection, we kind of make the assumption that they're probably not our client. So for us, it's been a bit of a tough adjustment where the sales team have had to adapt to a little bit more sitting back and I guess it's just a different form of communication. So we've had to adjust doing things like Zoom and FaceTime if we can. Also, another thing that's been really successful for us is we've made sure we've had photos previously. I actually got caught out myself this week. I'd sold a system that was on a bit of a rural property. I asked the client what size mains they had run to the back shed because the client built the property himself. And he's like, yeah, mate, massive mains. I said, oh, you know, what size? He says, yeah, we got 16 mils. So we get to the site to install only yesterday, and he actually had 4 mil mains running down the back. So we had to pivot pretty quickly there. So yeah, but it's been good. It's been really well received by our clients. Our leads are actually up this month, which has been great, and that only started from the Easter long weekend. But we've been pushing really hard in the sales, and the guys have been putting in some massive hours as well. So just trying to keep everyone as happy as we can and keep moving forward whilst trying not to be in their home as well. So the photos and the iPhones have been a blessing.
Mate, that's awesome. Great to hear that you're getting even more leads at the moment. And I know your company's really well reviewed and rated out there. So it sounds like you guys are doing a really professional job. So thank you so much for coming in. I can still see at the top the different cameras of people that came in before. And what I'm loving is I can actually see Rod Grono just sitting there actually working and wiring something up as he's like, you know?
Never ends, does it, eh?
He's packing up in a verter box right now. So that's awesome. We've had people having a beer. We've had people installing.
Oh, I wish I had beer, but not yet.
If anyone else that wants to be dialed in, looking for people to speak wave and come on in. I'm seeing a few comments in the feed with people, you know, saying a few funny things. So you'll be able to see that there in the chat area. Looking across the field up the top here, I'll just mute you off there, Jake. Another thing that I was speaking to Dean Mannix, the sales coach, about, he was saying when you're doing remote selling and you're doing it across video on Zoom, one thing that's really hard is to build rapport with people. And usually when you go to somebody's home, you build rapport by building a relationship with them. You turn up at their house. If they're really house proud, you say, geez, you have a beautiful home. You see a sports car in their driveway, you talk about cars. You see an AFL jersey, you tell them, why do you watch that shit? And you hope they have a rugby league jersey on their wall. You know, you build rapport by building a relationship with these people. But when you're over a video with them, how do you build a relationship? And a really good little example he gave is a lot of people are asking for photos of their power bill. So before they do a Zoom presentation, they're getting both sides of the power bill as a photo so they can get all of that data and build it into a modeling tool so they can show them their expected bill savings and ROI and tweak that as they share a screen with the customer. One thing he was saying, which is a very small thing, was even just complimenting the customer about, oh, you were able to take quite a good photo of your power bill. You'd be amazed how many people, all I can see is an Origin or an AGL logo, and I can't even see the rest of the bill. Geez, you did quite good on the camera there, Mr. Smith. And it's a very small thing, but you've just kind of said to them, you've complimented them on something, and you're helping build rapport with the customer. So some of these really little things are really important. And, you know, it's little things like that that are going to change the dynamic of your pitch. Look, I've got one other person who was looking to come in, and she did reach out to me, Sophie, but I'm not sure that Sophie's got a screen there operating. And I did have a lot of other people say they were going to be jumping in live, but I think it's the thing that people need to watch this recording and see that this isn't that daunting. This is people sharing their ideas. Here we go. We do have Sophie coming in now. So Sophie, just make sure you turn on your video there, so you enable your video. And Sophie's from a company by the name of Velocity Solar. You're on there live, Sophie.
Yeah, hi Liam. A bit like everyone said, you know, the inquiries we're getting at the moment, and Lily mentioned it, are really strong, and that's really, really great for us. So we're still kind of doing what we used to do. So we're very much, I think it was Jake that said they are very much doing in the past on-site visits, and we're still really doing that in 99% of the cases. So having a really genuine conversation with everyone that inquires with us and saying, look, this is what we used to do. We are still doing that, but we've changed how we do it a little bit. And we're having all of those conversations now outside your house and following strict social distancing as well. So when we explain that to customers, they're very accepting of us and very comfortable with that. So actually saying, is that something that you're comfortable with? They're all saying yes. And so we're going and doing the on-sites following those kind of parameters. And if it's an internal switchboard or we need to see something inside the house, having that as part of that pre-conversation, and the customer's just taking a photo in it, and it's working really well. And like a few others have said, we'll probably continue with some of these changes. I know for me, as long as the weather's okay, having that conversation outside with the customer when we're actually looking at their roof and we're looking at where things are and we're looking at where that big tree is, it actually makes more sense than going and having that conversation inside where you're not talking about what it is that they're going to be investing their money in. So for us, it's really strong time for sales. That's working well. The inquiries solid and genuine, and that conversion is a lot higher than normal because of that.
Thank you so much, Sophie, for sharing your story. And I found it so interesting that you're actually still going out to site, but you're doing it in the front yard, the presentation. And it must be quite nice to be actually looking up at the roof and talking to them about the system. Reminds me a little bit at the moment, I'm actually, me and my kids are going over and doing little basically picnics in the front yard over the fence with my parents because they're in their 70s. So I'm making sure they keep locked up like a prison cell, and I bring my old man over a carton of beers, which I spray with disinfectant, and then sit over the fence from him and have a chat about how life is. But you're kind of doing a similar thing selling there, Sophie. So that's pretty cool. Look, there's no other dial-ins. I'm not trying to make this thing go for forever. So basically the two key topics today were how are people dealing with social distancing on the install side of things, and how are people dealing with remote selling when they're doing sales. And we've heard some really great stories there, so I hope people are getting a lot out of that information. The third topic I wanted to put up was crap solar. I thought it'd be good to have a little bit of banter come in. We all hate the people out there that are doing crap and not charging enough and just kind of bastardizing the industry a little bit. I did have somebody there who was ready to jump in to tell a bit of a story. Shane Kennedy, mate, jump on in. You're live, buddy.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Good, buddy.
Crap solar, where do you start, mate? You pretty much alarm bells go for me when I see sporting identities as solar faces, mate, you know? It just reeks crap solar. Pricing, mate, pricing, where do you start? Like $2,300 for a 6.6 kilowatt system, like you gotta wonder what you get, and you gotta wonder who's installing it. Like, cost me like $1,500 to have a crew on site for a day. So they must be paying these people like $800 or something to do the install. I don't know, man.
Unfortunately, I think there is some companies out there, and thanks, Shane. And that's, mate, that's a little bit of crap solar. And, you know, I think, you know, we want to hear about that. I think it's really bad that we see 6 kilowatt residential systems sold for $2,000 or $3,000 when we all know if you buy reasonable quality equipment and pay installers what they should be paid, so they're actually able to make a dollar. You can't do systems like that. And the companies that do systems like that won't be around. The equipment they're probably using is what we see as many of these thousands of orphan systems, or probably hundreds of thousands of orphan systems around Australia. I want somebody else who's in the group right now. They're all up still there on the panel. I want to know, when you go out and see somebody and give them a quote for a system, and you might be quoting a reasonable price, a 6.5 kilowatt system for say $6,000 or $7,000, and the customer's got in their other hand this crap quote for $2,000 or $3,000. How do you tell the customer to spend $6,000 or $7,000 with your business, opposed to taking that crap system that they'll probably pay for twice for $2,000 or $3,000? Eddie Spring, I want to bring you in, mate.
If they show me a cheap price, I tell them, and they want to go with it, I tell them I can get one for half the price of that. So when they bring out their $4,000 quote, I say, well, if you're going to spend $4,000, why not spend $2,500? And that just starts the conversation around crap solar. And if they're going to spend $4,000, well, then they may as well spend $2,500. It's not going to last. And so we don't hide around the fact that we do quality work at a fair and reasonable price. We're not the top end of the industry. We're definitely not the bottom, you know, and it's about having that conversation about pricing and about what you're getting and what you don't get for, you know, your budget and entry level systems. It's definitely not the elephant in the room. It's something that you've got to have a conversation about. And we're finding these days people have a friend or a family member or someone else that they know that has had a crap experience. So it's easy to start that conversation because they know someone that's had a shit system. So it's very easy to talk quality now. It's gotten easier over time.
Yeah, definitely. A few people have been burnt, which is really unfortunate when there's so many people doing the right thing. And poor man definitely pays twice. Look, I'll bring Jake back in. Jake, what do you do when you're up against a $2,000 quote or $3,000 quote?
Hey, mate. Yeah, good question. So we've got a really, really good example that we use. We've got a 100 kilowatt. If I tilt my camera out the window, we've got a 100 kilowatt system just down the road from our place in one of Penrith's largest gyms. I won't name names. That was quoted on. They ended up going the very, very sub dollar a watt. And this is 4 years ago or so. And they actually had a major roof fire. So the quality of components weren't that bad. They were actually semi-reputable brands to what I would consider. It was the installation that was the issue. They had 10 rooftop isolators full of water. And what had actually happened was they'd shorted out, actually caught on fire, and then took a row of panels as well. Now, this was kept very hush-hush, but we use that as an example because that back then it was 90,000, which would have been cheap. That system has then cost the owner in loss of generation around $10,000. It's cost the owner $50,000 for us to rip it off, rewire it, rebuild it, replace those panels, and a hell of a lot of liability with people inside a gym. So that's generally our go-to. We give a live example as to how this will fall over. And we've also have examples and case studies of people that did buy the cheap rubbish. It lasted 3 years. And my biggest thing when we're talking price and people are like, but I can get the same thing for $1,000 cheaper. I'm very, very big on, like, I'm all for people installing whatever brand of panels they want. Like, we love Q-cells personally, but someone wants a Trina, someone wants a SunPower, someone wants an LG, like, round of applause. They're all going to do a pretty good job for you. But the biggest, most important part of your system is the installation, without doubt. That is worth twice as much as the inverters or the panel. If you cheap out on install, forget it. Your top brands are going to be worth nothing in a few years when it doesn't work. And then you don't have the after sales service. If you don't have someone there who can fix it pretty promptly, you're losing money on energy as well. So that's kind of the conversation we have.
100%, mate. Companies are going to be around to service the system, and some really, really great points there. Thank you so much there. I know Mark, I think Mark Cavanagh has a question. I'll bring him up, but I'm just looking at some of the comments feeds. Somebody said on crap solar, when people are telling customers a BYD battery is going to last them for 25 years off grid. Well, that is crap. I sell BYD batteries. They're a good battery, but they're not going to last 25 years. So good example of crap. Mark, I've got you back in there, mate. You're going to ask a question?
Yeah, that was a question from a while back, Liam, that I just had about when people are quoting. At first we tried to start doing Zoom meetings with customers because it's a little bit more interactive than a phone call. And we spent a lot of time trying to work up, do a presentation. How do you do a presentation on Zoom and all that kind of thing? And we didn't get a single customer that was interested in a Zoom meeting. I'm wondering if other people have found that. So we're doing the same thing, having a driveway meeting. We're saying we won't meet inside, and then probably a larger portion are just getting what we call remote quotes.
So you're doing the driveway meeting similar to what Sophie was down in Melbourne?
Yeah. But wondering if anyone's been successful with Zoom and convincing people that, Zoom
I'll
meetings
bring
are good.
across to a couple more. I've got Dan, the Solar Man, still there. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, well, we're pretty much just, it's pretty much a increased in leads situation that we're experiencing too. So how do you deal with all the demand? Because you can't be everywhere. And as much as, we would love, we love a face-to-face site inspection and that sort of thing, you can't be everywhere. So I haven't had any success with Zoom yet, to answer Mark's question, but I've done a couple of FaceTimes and just showed I showed some installations and some work of ours to a few customers live. So they appreciated that, and they were able to show us roughly what they wanted to do, and at the end of it, pretty much thanked us that we operated outside the box, so to speak. But the demographic of our customers is they are more ripe in their age, and are going to sometimes be shy from doing these sort of things. So I suppose it's just a mindset thing, and you just got to keep adapting to the environment. And early in the piece, where it was sort of doom and gloom for everyone, you had two choices to make: whether you sit back and feel defeated, or you adapt to whatever's going to come your way, and apply big actions to those new strategies. And we're weathering the storm best we can, but like everyone, we've had to definitely change our perspective on how we do things. And
definitely, mate. I think the people that are in the room here are people that have adapted. There's all the people that are in here that have been brave enough to show their face and say a few words are people that are doing good numbers still and adapting. People doing driveway presentations. Mark, in regards to your question, I have a customer who does some really good numbers, who is very successfully using Zoom, even for the elderly section of people, as Dan called them, the people that are a bit more ripe in their age. But they're successfully doing it. They're not getting worried if they can't see their face properly. Like, I know when I FaceTime with my parents, quite often you're just looking at their hair or their chin or their shirt or something. They're hopeless with the camera. But the thing is, it doesn't matter if you're not looking at them. They will no doubt have the phone or the tablet or the laptop in a way that they're seeing the screen and they're seeing what you're sharing with them. So, you know, we've done only a little bit of testing with this, and I hope it's coming through okay, but actually doing a bit of testing and making sure you know how to seamlessly screen share, you know how exactly it's going to look and it feels seamless to the people you're presenting to. So as soon as they get there, you go, hey, we didn't book in this Zoom presentation until we had your power bill. We've actually put in some of the information off that power bill. First of all, I'm going to bring up your power bill and explain to you how to look at that and how to read your power bill a bit more. Everyone has different processes, but just make sure you follow your sales process perfectly and make it feel seamless. Make it actually feel like something people want to get engaged with. So, you know, is anyone else jumping in? Eddie Springer wants to throw another comment, getting a little bit more of a feel for this monitor up here that Dane's helping me with.
Yeah, very similar to Mark. We're finding, and velocity, we're finding the quality of the leads is going up. So we're not getting the D-class customers coming through, and we are still going out to the premises, and we're doing it safely. We're doing it at a distance. So it's about talking to the customer. Have you been overseas? Is anyone unwell? And then doing it in the front yard, doing it either side of the bonnet of the vehicle and passing, you know, looking at stuff, paperwork on top of the bonnet of the car. That keeps the distance. We've got to have that face-to-face interaction. We're doing it in the front yard. We're looking at the roof, and we're doing it safely because our conversions are so much better when we're in front of the customer, where the customers can feel how genuine we are and how focused we are, and we're qualifying them more, but we are still doing the face-to-face. We have to, and we're doing it safely.
Yeah, awesome, Eddie. Well, look, that's been 45 minutes. I'm not going to keep anyone too much longer today. I look forward to doing this again. I'm going to be calling on more people out there in the industry to get a bit braver and be asked to dial in. We didn't get as many as I was hoping. So I'm going to put this recording out so other people can see people that are doing well, and hopefully we get even more engagement next week. I am going to invite industry veteran Nigel Morris back in, see if he's got any other comments, because it's nice enough to come along and share some data. Nigel, jump on in there, mate.
No, mate, I have to say it's been really useful for me and really interesting to hear so many different perspectives on what's going on. And, you know, one thing I love about this industry and the solar coaster is we're pretty good at bloody adapting. Well, in fact, all of you out there are pretty good at adapting, and that's the key to survival in this industry. Is how do we adapt? How do we move quick? You know, and how do we make sure that we can keep things going? And you know, I must admit, mate, a few weeks ago I was pretty nervous about where we might be in this week of the year. I was quite concerned that we may see some really, really big, deep cuts, and it looks like we're going to get through unscathed. So the key thing is, what have we learnt here? You know, I challenged my sales team this week and said, all right, guys, when we're back to normal, do we need an office? You know, are we actually being more effective here? Can we be more efficient and save a whole heap of rent now and actually just restructure our business and do things a different way? So I think there's great opportunities now to tease out all the good bits that we've learned. I did post a couple of questions. I'm sure there's been a cost to this. And, you know, I'd be really interested to know, you know, what's worked well and, you know, where the big costs have been and, you know, what the positives are that we're going to get out of this. But I'm sure there are some. And, you know, well done, everyone, for adapting, because it's not bloody easy.
No, not at all, mate. Well, thank you so much, Nigel. Thank you for everyone who came in today. I look forward to doing the next Solar Yarns. It's just really great to hear people in the industry doing so well. I know from myself as a supplier side of things, it's really hard to, you know, kind of survey everybody out there to find out what's coming up, because quite often suppliers and I'm not just going to plug myself here. I'm going to say, like, whoever your supplier of choice is out there, make sure you let them know what you got coming up, because most of you guys and ladies out there have, you know, 4, 6, 8 weeks lead time from when you're making a sale to when you're installing. And none of us have a crystal ball on the supply side of things. So let us know what's coming up in 4, 6 or 8 weeks time, so we can make sure we've got your supply there ready to go. Look, keep going, industry. I look forward to doing the next Solar Yarns. Fellow solar industry legends, thank you so much for coming in. See you next time.